The Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge and Ginetta G40 Cup is back in action again with us this weekend at Donington Park for another trio of races. Their first was yesterday afternoon and it was the usual highly entertaining affair, and today's race should be no different. Donington Park looking splendid as ever, a bit more cloud cover now than we had earlier on, but pretty much perfect conditions actually now for quick times. And we're expecting more close racing. It's a good slipstreamy circuit, this one, perfectly suited to these Ginetta G40s, which are run across the four different classes that we have racing. We have two different championships, the GT5 Challenge and the G40 Cup. Each of those championships is split into a Pro and an AM class, so there are a number of different battles to watch out for, essentially, within the race, but the main contenders are all running within the GT5 Challenge and the Pro category at that, and that's a championship that is being led after the first race yesterday by Josh Steed by 20 points over Will Aspin in second place, but Aspin was our winner yesterday over John Bennett. It was a race that was unfortunately cut short after Balsidou went off the chicane and got beached into the gravel. He was absolutely fine, but the car was in a dangerous position. There wasn't going to be enough time to get the car moved, so they ended the race early, just as Aspin had moved into the lead of the race. Aspin, therefore, has pole position for today's race, although this is actually based on second fastest times from yesterday's qualifying session, so Rory McKean will start alongside him. Row number 2 is Nat Hodgkiss and Ben McKenna, whilst the third row then is shared by Mikey Doble, who had a spin yesterday, and Josh Steed, the championship leader. Fourth row for David Ellerslie and Will Rochford alongside him in the TCR car, whilst Magnus Kruklevi, who was strong yesterday, is on the fifth row of the grid alongside Will Autumn. Row number 6 for John Bennett then, second yesterday, but deep in the field for this one. Harley Horton is alongside him on the 6th row of the grid. Row number 7 then for Connor Grady and Haytham Caragiuli for company. 8th row for Owen HIZZEY. Ignacio Zanon is next, all of these GT5 Pro drivers. Then you've got Chris White, the first of the AM runners, alongside Balsidou. Chris White, second in the AM Class Championship. PAOLO SANTI is the next, alongside Karim Sekat for Elite Motorsport. We're now into that GT5 AM class, ahead of Mark Steele and Sean Peters. Then we move into the G40 Pros. They'll start 10 seconds after the GT5 Cup with Challenge, I should say, with Mark Warren and Tom Holland on the front row of the G40 grid. Nick White is next alongside Brent Maud, and then the third row for the G40s sees the first two AM drivers, Rupert Laslett and Stephen Moore. Then we've got behind them Brendan Hafner with Andrew Willis for company, and right at the back of the grid will be Stephen Davis for SVG Motorsport. So big grid of cars then, and the GT5 Challenge aspect of the race yesterday was thrill a minute really. There is Chris White, who, as I said, will have a class pole for himself as well. In the AM class, Chris was the winner yesterday, and Harry Mangan, who is the championship leader in the AM category, is not racing this weekend with us, so the gap between them, which at the moment is 19 points in Mangan's favour, will go up now. Obviously, it went up. Well, it went. Sorry, will go down. I'll try that again. It will come down because Mangan isn't racing, and Chris White was a few points behind him. But after this race, as long as things go well for the 83 car, he should have a chance to take the AM Championship lead. Hope some of that made sense to you at least. What does make sense is the fact we're in for 20 minutes of really good racing. Will Aspin on that pole position then after a slightly fortuitous win yesterday with the red flag. He won officially by 18 1/1000ths of a second because the lap before the red flag came out, he and John Bennett were absolutely side by side at the final corner. Will we have another close finish today? Let's find out then. 20 minutes of racing, round number 9 of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge. We'll get underway when the red lights go out. That happens now, and from pole position a really good start is made by Will Aspin. The blue car will have the lead into turn 1. John Bennett, look, the white and blue car on the grass already in the midfield as he tries to make progress. 3 abreast for second place into Redgate corner. Is that going to work out? Is the 25 car on the inside line of Rory McKean that will hold on to second position, but only by the skin of his teeth. The blue 95 of Nat Hodgkiss is back alongside him again. Look at this, the lead that it's giving Will Aspin is an absolute dream for him as the rest of the field all squabble over second place. Down the Crane of Curves into the old hairpin. It is going to be the 95 car now then of Hodgkiss that goes through. Mikey Doble there on the inside. The 21 car runs a bit wide. That's Will Rochford, the white machine. Somehow they all got through there cleanly though. That was brilliant driving from all of them because it was very congested indeed. Out in towards McLean's they go then for the first time already. The race leader getting away. Now it's almost impossible to break clear in this series, but if you can break that toe, then it is possible to have a pretty quiet race. We'll see if that is the case. Certainly the drivers behind are not working together to try and go after Aspen at this stage, so it looks as though Willie's going to have at least an easy first part of the race. Whether it continues to be that way later on, we'll find out. 20 minutes of racing, remember. Down into the chicane. Oh, there's a lock-up for, well, that must have been the leader, Will Aspin, because he's the only driver that had got into the braking point by that stage. Did he survive that? Is he still there? Yes, he is. Well, that was a bit scary. Mikey Doble there kicking up a bit of the dirt as he goes through the Fogarty S's. There is the lead for Aspin then over Hotchkiss second, McKean third. Ben McKenna, that looks like in fourth position, with Josh Steed right behind. Doble again up the inside. Doble's lost ground in the middle sector. He was certainly further up than that when he went down through the grain of curves, dicing away with, amongst others, John Bennett there and Magnus Kruklevi. So we'll sort the order out properly when they come through at the end of the opening lap. That was a challenge there for third, though. That was Ben McKenna up the inside of Rory McKean. Gives him the hip and shoulder on the exit of the corner as well. And McKean is sideways. Through will go Josh Steed. And he's also going to drop back now, I think, to the clutches of David Ellerslie behind him. So that was forceful stuff there from Ben McKenna. But he was fully up the inside when he started to make the move, it must be said. Up the inside there goes John Bennett into ninth place ahead of Mikey Doble. Mikey had a spin at the chicane yesterday. He'd fought his way through quite nicely, actually, into third place. And the second he got into third, he hit the curbs a bit too hard through the chicane. And around he went, finished outside the top 10 in the end. Now, G40 Cup, what's going on here? It is Mark Warren, by the looks of it, that has the lead. Yes, he does, over Nick White in second place. So, as it was grid order for the G40 Pros, Rupert Laslett is leading in G40 AM, and he is running in about 5th or 6th place overall. So, the closest battle, as you can see, is that one for second place in G40s. Nick White just about keeping Thomas Holland at bay. Thomas started second on the grid, but Nick's got past him, and now Tom wants to get it back. So there are the leading four. You can see the momentum that moment at the hairpin cost Rory McKean, because he's really been dropped by the leading four now, as this battle behind him will hopefully allow him to escape from them as well, actually, because that's Ellerslie getting muscled out wide. 31 was the one going up the inside. That is Will Autumn. And then John Bennett takes advantage of their loss of momentum as well. Down into the hairpin they go. We appear to have lost Mikey Doble from this group, so I don't know where Mikey's got to, but he was battling with this lot when we last saw them. Look at the group of them together, though. There's Doble, actually, just came through. Definitely had a moment somewhere. That is all getting very, very tight indeed. So is this. Now, Ben McKenna does like this inside move at Goddard's, chooses to leave Nat Hotchkiss a bit more room on the exit than he showed Rory McKean a lap ago. And you can see why he was so forceful with McKean, because by being more polite to Hotchkiss, he hasn't got the move finished. He's stuck on the outside now for Redgate, and he doesn't fancy his chances right round the outside, so he cuts back to the late apex, tries to get the momentum off the corner, but can't get back up the inside again through Hollywood. Josh Steed in fourth place there. Third in this group has just set the fastest lap of 45.65. Sideways there for McKenna, and then he converts that into a lunge up the inside. That was brilliant stuff. There's almost contact there. Oh, there is contact. Around goes Hotchkiss, off goes McKenna, and through it all goes Josh Steed. Now McKenna's back across the track. Oh, right in front of Rory McKean. That was a terrifying moment, and somehow McKean missed him. But that is always the risk when cars go off at that part of the track, because you get on that grass, and even when it's dry as it is today, there's no grip there, and it's very easy to spin back across the pack going into Starkeys. We've had some nasty accidents there over the years, thankfully avoided one there, but that is a real disaster for McKenna and Hotchkiss, and they both really should have been on for podium finishes there, and neither of them are going to end up with one. Josh Steed probably will, though, because he moves into second now. And of course, with no one to battle with, he might be able to put in some good laps and chase down the leader. We'll monitor that gap. Will Orton goes third now, and John Bennett is fourth, having started 11th on the grid. He's had a really good drive in this one. Magnus Kruklevi there is trying to find a way past, who might that be? Kruklevi in Rochford, I think. Yeah, 21 is Rochford. Every time they get down to the hairpin, it's just pick a line, any line, isn't it? Wherever the other cars don't go, you can go and try and make a move. So let's sort through all of this. Then we've only had 5 minutes of this race, and it has been certainly an entertaining one. Not always for the right reasons. Kruklevi wide, so too is, that was Harley Horton, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, the Elite Motorsport driver. Here is the replay, though. So, a big moment there for McKenna. He then converts that into a lunge up the inside of Hodgkiss, but he can't get the car stopped. He runs wide, he takes Hodgkiss with him. Hodgkiss spins immediately, and then I think McKenna might have got away with it, but in his eagerness to get back on the road, he just sort of floors the throttle, loses the rear, and this is where it gets scary. Backwards, across the road. Which way is he going to go? Thankfully, he goes left-hand down and manages to get the car across the road before Rory McKean arrived, but that was scary. It's about as scary as it gets, really, being broadside across one of the fastest pieces of the track as the pack bears down on you. So what this means then is Aspin has a 2.6 second lead over Steed, who was 3/10 quicker than him on the previous lap. So the gap is 2.6 seconds. Make a note of that now. 2.6 seconds then between first and second. Will Orton is third, but only just because John Bennett is right behind him. And then there's a bit of a gap back to Rory McKean in fifth. So this is the fight for third then. Orton and Bennett, neither of whom started particularly well up the grid. In fact, Orton was 10th, Bennett was 11th. And they are now third and fourth, partly as a result of other people getting into each other, but also because they both made some nice moves through the field, particularly Bennett. Speaking of nice moves, up the inside there is a double move being made. That was pretty feisty. That was Haytham Caragiuli getting past David Elsley and Magnus Kruklevi. Ran a bit wide on the exit. That's going to hurt Kruklevi and allow Elsley back alongside him. But Haytham Caragiuli then, 2 places gained. 7th place now belongs to the always spectacular youngster. And Haytham Caragiuli has had the speed this season, no doubt about it, but he's yet to trouble the podium places. Might struggle to do so in this race, but he is at least now into 7th place and might yet be able to challenge for a top 5 finishing position. We'll wait and see. Next up to challenge Kruklevi is the 74 of Owen HIZZEY, who's made the jump up from G40 Cup to GT5 Challenge this year. Now that lead gap then, I said was 2.6. Actually, Will Aspin has responded now to the pace of Josh Steed and was 2/10 quicker on the previous lap, and he set the fastest lap, which is worth a bonus point. There is Harley Horton getting a run on the inside of Conor Grady. And in fact, Grady, I think, has a problem because Mikey Doble drives past him as well, and a couple of others were looking as though they were carrying more speed up the hill. There is Chris White then. Chris White is still leading GT5 AM by nearly a second now over Karim Sekat in 2nd place. Sekat was off the podium. He was 5th place yesterday in class. There is Grady. So Grady is going slowly, and he's pulling off the road completely, in fact. So Conor Grady, that's a shame. Seem to recall Conor having a moment yesterday where the car slowed, but he did still get classified 14th. I forget now. I think he might have pitted to retire, but actually because the result then went back a lap with the red flag, he was sort of reinstated back into the finishing positions. But Conor, certainly I remember his car slowing at one point or another yesterday, and it slowed determinedly this time. Chris White then in the CDW Motors car, still with those fragile logos on it after his big crash at Thruxton, where they had to basically replace the entire car. And his sponsors are a haulage company, and they are supporting him even with the issues that he's had, and he's rewarding them now with some really, really strong pace. So, race settling down now then into the middle part of the race now. And the battle here between Bennett and Orton has actually seen a change, hasn't it then? Bennett into 3rd place now ahead of Will Orton. Rory McKean, though, is the one that's caught them, the SVG Motorsport driver, making his debut in the championship this weekend, and has been pretty impressive, it has to be said. Now, this is an incident in the G40 element of the race, going up into Coppice Corner. The 73 car goes up the inside of the 37, so that was Andrew Wills being attacked by Stephen Moore, and it's actually the attacker that ends up spinning. Easy to do there, though, over that blind crest, and of course you're trying to avoid running into the car on the outside, so you sort of tighten the steering up, but over the crest the car goes light, loses traction, and around he goes. So not out of the race by any means, but certainly going to lose him a little bit of ground. So Bennett getting away now from Orton and McKean. McKean is the one most likely to make the move here, you'd have to say. McKean has now snatched that fastest lap away from Will Aspin, who on the previous lap was 4 and a bit tenths slower than Steed in 2nd. So Josh Steed back down, bring that gap back down now to under 2.5 seconds. Mark Warren here then is leading in G40 Pro by 1.2 seconds over Nick White. You can see him behind the 57 car. So Warren started on pole in G40 Pro and is looking likely at the moment to convert that pole position into a race victory. There you can see behind the battle for third that's developing, and that is Rupert Laslett, who's actually leading the AM category, blue, white and green car, with Thomas Holland not far behind him, who is a pro, and he's on for a podium finish with him pro at the moment. Of course, we'd very much like to get ahead of Laslett for a podium overall. You only score points within your class though, so beating a pro or an AM driver if you're not in their class doesn't really get you anywhere, but it's still a race to be had. And of course in the G40 Cup, which is sort of the entry level these days into Ginetta racing, it's all about learning your craft really and getting experience. Getting quicker here is Josh Steed. Steed took half a second out of Aspin that time. So Steed 1.9 the gap now, and we still have 8.25 minutes or so to go. So can he get there? If he gets within another 2 or 3 tenths, he'll start to pick up a bit of a slipstream. That will further help him in closing down the leader. He's actually not the fastest man on the track though, Josh Steed. John Bennett in third place is. John with this incredible run from 11th on the grid, a 44.803 now, the fastest lap. Yesterday, it was Steed that set the fastest lap at 45.3, so they are half a second quicker than yesterday, but that's kind of been par for the course actually across all our races today. Certainly our GT Academy Ginetta race earlier on, we saw a similar kind of half a second improvement in lap times over yesterday afternoon. This cloud cover, I think, is probably helping with that as well. So, looks as though the gap's going to come down again. It was 1.9 seconds, it's 1.1 now. Game on here. Josh Steed with another fastest lap, a 1:44.40. He's well within slipstreaming range now. So that nice big gap that Will Aspin had built early on is very much disappearing now. Meanwhile, Rory McKean into 4th place here, ahead of Will Orton, whilst behind them you've got the 21 car, which is Will Rochford, but Rochford is being given a 5-second penalty for, guess what, track limits. So the 21 car, although it's 6th on the road, will drop at least 1 position on corrected times as things stand. But Rochford is going quickly, going wide. Is Rory McKean, bounces over the grass, gets sideways. He's still on the grass, he's going to lose control. Oh, and clatters into Will Orton. They're both into the gravel. And that was just a mistake from Rory McKean, and then he had to be careful as he rejoined the circuit. He didn't want to rejoin alongside Orton, so he elected to stay on the grass, and that was the worst thing he could have done, because then the car broke traction completely and spat across the road into the luckless Will Orton, who had nowhere to go. That is a real shame. Now, that surely, as a minimum, has to be a safety car. Could we even see another premature end to the race? I hope not, because look at the battle that we've got for the lead now. All of a sudden, Josh Steed, well, in the first sector, he set the fastest sector time of anyone. Same in sector 2, and now he goes to the inside into the Melbourne hairpin, and we have a new race leader, Josh Steed. But will he hold it? Because on the exit of the corner, Aspin tries to come back at him. We've also got the threat of a red flag or a safety car looming over us, so that was a timely move there for Josh Steed, but he locks up, runs wide into Goddard, and back on the inside goes Will Aspin. Brilliant racing. Will Aspin gets straight back into the lead of the race, but there is nothing between them as they come across the start-finish line. Just less than 6 minutes left on the clock, and we are in for a grandstand finish here then. Josh Steed, can he make another lunge on the brakes into Redgate? The answer is no. This is the trouble though, having caught the leader. As soon as you get in front, you're then susceptible to attack again, because you are then providing the slipstream for the car you've just overtaken. So making the move is one thing, but then breaking away again is going to be next to impossible, you'd imagine. Now down into the old hairpin, he goes up the inside again. No, can't quite do it. There's traffic ahead as well, and they're going into, oh, that's Harley Horn, isn't it? And there are yellow flags out, and you can't overtake under yellow flags, but they both went past a back marker. Harley Horn is off, I noticed. I don't quite know how Harley got there, which is another reason for the yellow flag there, but that will be looked at after, because the back marker there, they caught at the worst possible moment. You are not allowed to pass anybody under yellow flags, whether it's for position or whether it's to put a lap on them, and there will be a question there as to whether Aspin passed the back marker in the yellow flag zone. Of course, he didn't want to back off too much because he doesn't want to lose time to Steed, but of course Steed couldn't overtake him either, so yeah, he might live to regret that. We shall wait and see. Through the chicane they go, lots of curb being taken, but Aspen is slower off the corner than Steed. Steed goes up the inside, bit of contact between the two of them, that just loosens the front bodywork on the 58 car, but that won't slow him down at all, and you can tell that because he's just taken the lead, so he converted that into a move. Oh, and a big spin in front of them for the 13 car. That was Brendan Hafner losing it just as he was about to be lapped. That was another focusing moment for the leaders in a race full of them, really. Tell you what else might happen here is that John Bennett might catch them, because he was 4.4 seconds behind these two at the start of the lap, but as they continue to dice, you can see there the white and blue number 27 car in the background is definitely getting closer. Yeah, he nearly halved the gap that time. He was 2 full seconds quicker than the race leaders, who are again side by side into Redgate, nearly, as Aspen tries to get up the inside of Josh Steed, but didn't quite make it stick that time. 3 3/4 minutes to go now. Time for another couple of laps then. And Josh Steed, now he's got in front, is he going to be able to break away? You doubt it, really. As I said, given just how slipstreamy these cars are, they're not very aerodynamic, they're not very powerful either. And on a high average speed circuit such as Donington Park, you really can use that draft to good effect to stay with the car ahead. They go past the Ginetta graveyard there through the old hairpin and Starkeys and sideways. Oh, brilliant save for Josh Steed, but he loses momentum coming out of McLean's. They were just going up the inside there of Stephen Moore to put a lap on him. And I wonder if that put Steed offline maybe and just allowed he just carried a bit too much speed into the corner. And did really well, actually, not to lose control completely. What it does mean, though, is that Aspen is right back on his tail, goes to the outside, looks to the inside, can't get there, commits now to the outside line, but you're not going to go around the outside into the chicane. He knows that, backs out of it, and instead focuses on carrying speed out of the Fogarty S's, down the hill towards the Melbourne hairpin. He's not going to be close enough on this occasion, though. And all the while, John Bennett is loving what he's seeing here, because he's closing again on this lap. In the first sector, he was a 10th faster than the leader. In the second sector, the best part of a second quicker, though. And we're going to have time for 2 more laps. So John Bennett can absolutely get there. Will he be able to convert 11th on the grid into a race win? That would be an absolutely incredible comeback for John Bennett, and one that he needs, because he's 3rd place in the championship behind Aspen and Steed ahead of him. So these are the top 3 drivers in the points. Car off the chicane, that looks like number 15, is it? Yeah, that is the number 15 car, which is Stephen Davis, again making his debut in the championship, and he looks like he's beached in the gravel at the chicane, so that will be a no passing zone as well. So, job to keep up with all of this, isn't it? Just under 2 laps still to go then, and now Steed actually has a bit of a break on Aspen. It's not going to be enough to break the slipstream, but it's just going to give him a little bit of respite for another half a lap or so. Already you can see, though, as they pick the speed up through Starkeys and Swans, the way that Aspen's closing back in again. So Bennett on the previous lap was 1.2 seconds faster than the race leader. He is less than a second, though, critically, behind Will Aspen in 2nd place now. So he'll be getting a double slipstream from the cars ahead of him. This is going to be a really, really exciting final lap. No overtaking, remember, at the end of this straight into the chicane. So Aspen will have to hold station. He's still going to jink to the inside, though, just to try and distract the race leader. Nothing wrong with doing that. They're also going to catch some more G40 Cup cars, aren't they, before the end of the race? So that could play a part in it. If they catch them into a yellow flag zone again, that can certainly hinder the race leader, which at the moment is Josh Steed, and he's driving very defensively into the hairpin. John Bennett is well and truly with them now. And the worst thing you can see if you're Josh Steed now is not only back markers up the road, but side-by-side back markers. There you can see them, look, and they're going to catch them into Goddard's corner, but the first of them stays well out of the way. Brilliant driving that from the number 23 of Thomas Holland, who was fighting, of course, for an overall podium in G40 Cup earlier on. So he's faded a bit through the middle part of the race. Final lap of racing then. 1 more lap of the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, separating either Josh Steed, Will Aspen or John Bennett from a race victory. Bennett's not made brilliant progress through the traffic, though, and he's now getting stuck a bit behind Bren Maud as they go out of Redgate. So we can maybe now count him out, unless the top 2 really do come to blows, which I'm certainly not betting against just yet. Steed, remember, who leads the race, is 20 points clear of Aspen in the championship, so Will could really do with getting this move made and getting those extra points. 35 points for a win, 30 for 2nd, plus a bonus for the fastest lap, which belongs to Josh Steed at the moment, so he's on for the maximum score from this race. But can he hang on to the victory now? Traffic ahead through Coppice Corner. There are no yellow flags here, but at the other end of the straight there are. They got the inside of the first of those cars. That's number 37, and Aspin really got delayed there. Nothing that Andrew Willis could do, really. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but has that robbed Aspin now one more chance to get that slipstream and have a go into the hairpins. Final sector of the final lap beginning, and actually Bennett is now closer to Aspin than Aspin is to the leader of the race, but Will Aspin really flings the car through the chicane. Look at that for car control. It didn't work though. He was slower off the corner, and Bennett's up the inside now. This for second place there with 2 corners to go, and John Bennett from 11th on the grid is into the runners-up position now as they head towards the final corner. Aspin will of course try and fight back, goes to the outside, but he doesn't want the outside, he wants the inside line. No way, says John Bennett. He defends the inside, and well, they'll go toe-to-toe now through the final corner. To the outside goes Aspin, on the inside is Bennett. That should work out well for Bennett. Bit of contact on the exit, but it's Josh Steed that will come through to take his 5th race victory of the season, and he wins it in the end by nearly a second over John Bennett in second and Will Aspin in 3rd position. A fantastic battle, though, between all 3 of them. Then it is Will Rochford 4th, but he was being given, I think, an even bigger time penalty. That might have gone up to 10 seconds now for track limits. I spotted a moment ago. You can see him there drop behind Haytham Caragiuli. So Rochford 5th, Elsley 6th, Mikey Doble 7th, ahead of Ben McKenna recovering to 8th. And Owen Hizzey, this is Karim Sekat, who is 2nd in GT5 AM. Chris White is about to come across the start-finish line to win the GT5 AM category from Sekat 2nd, and 3rd place for number 22, Mark Steele. So, G40s now, G40 Cup. Well, we've already had the winner in G40 Cup come through, which was... No, we haven't, I beg your pardon. Sorry, that is Mark Warren, isn't it, number 50. So Mark Warren is coming through. Half of the G40 field were lapped, so they've taken the checkered flag, but the leaders have not. And Mark Warren just needs to bring it now home through the final sector. Nick White has been catching him, actually, through the middle part of the race, but I don't think he's going to be able to get there. And in fact, he had a bit of a moment, I think, in the background there as they went through the chicane. So the 50 car, in fact, he had a big moment. Is he slowing? It looks like the 2nd place car may have run into an issue here. That 2nd place car being Nick White. Hopefully he can limp the car across the line, but Mark Warren is going to do more than limp. He is romping away now to the victory in the Ginetta G40 Cup. And within the pro category as well, Nick White is also in the pro category, and then the 3rd place car, Rupert Laslett, will win in G40 AM. There he is, look, so checkered flag goes out for Mark Warren. Looks like Nick White is going to get to the flag despite that strangely off-paced final sector. And Rupert Laslett is the final car to take the checkered flag as the G40 AM winner. Well, unpack that then. That was one heck of a race. So much to talk about. You wouldn't think you could cram that much into 20 minutes, but the GT5 Challenge in particular are very well versed at doing just that. And it's Josh Steed then, his 5th victory of the year. He's only been off the podium twice, actually. Once was the season opener at Thruxton. The other time was his 5th place finish yesterday. But he's bounced back from that quite nicely now to extend his points lead over Will Aspin. Like I said, he will get the 36 points for a win and a fastest lap. Aspin for 2nd place will get just 30, so the gap's going to go out now to 26 points between the 2 of them, with another race still to come. And of course, there's a long way to go in the championship. We are actually at the end. In fact, that race did mark the halfway point, actually, of the season. After Donington Park, there are just 3 more events left. So, getting into the business end now of the GT5 Challenge season. Ginetta GT5 Challenge then won at Donington Park by Josh Steed after a brilliant fight there with John Bennett and Will Aspin, who led much of the early part of the race. Mikey Doble recovers to 4th despite being off the road at some point in the middle part of the race. Ben McKenna likewise was off the road earlier on and ended up 5th ahead of Haytham Caragiuli. Owen Hizzey 7th, that might be his best result of the year, ahead of David Elsley, Ignacio Zanon and Nat Hodgkiss after that huge moment that he had down at the old hairpin, managing to salvage a 10th place. Will Rochford was 11th after his various track limits penalties. Chris White in 12th won the GT5 AM category, ahead of Karim Sekat, Mark Steele and Bal Sidhu, who finishes this time, having retired into the gravel yesterday. Then it was Peters, Warren and White, and then you get, yes, Warren and White 1st and 2nd in the G40 Pro element of the race, with Rupert Laslett 3rd in the G40 Cup, winner of the G40 AM class. PAOLO Santi was a bit out of position there. He's a GT5 Challenge contender, so the next G40 Cup runner was the 37 car of Andrew Willis, who came home 2nd in the AM category. Third in AM was Stephen Moore. You can see him down there, 24th overall. And then those that ran into difficulties and didn't finish. In fact, Stephen Davis, Rory McKean, Will Orton, Harley Horton. Never saw what happened to Harley Horton. And Magnus Krickleby. Right then, highlights of the race. I don't know how we're going to cram this down into about 90 seconds or so, but let's try it. Off the start of the race, it was a dream start really for Will Aspin. From pole position, he got the launch into Redgate Corner, and everyone else behind started immediately to trip over each other. It was 3 wide going into the first corner, as on the inside line, Rory McKean tried to defend his second place. They ended up side by side again through the Craner curves, and that just really allowed the race leader to get away. The G40 Cup also had a clean start with Mark Warren on pole position, and he would lead every lap of the G40 Cup race. So through the old hairpin, you can see there the gap that Aspin was building up immediately over the rest of the pack behind. There was eventual winner Josh Steed, buried down in the middle of the top 10, but he immediately started to make progress, getting into the top 5 halfway around the first lap. Mikey Doble had a gravelly moment at the chicane, and Ben McKenna robustly found a way past Rory McKean coming out of the hairpin, and that provided a handy freebie to Josh Steed as well. Then, big drama as McKenna came to blows with Nat Hodges coming out of the old hairpin. McKenna came backwards right across the road in front of Rory McKean. It was, unfortunately, a reminder of just how dangerous that part of the circuit can be, and we got another reminder of that later on in the race. The early battling was incredibly intense, not just in GT5 Challenge, but also in the G40 Cup as well. A spin there for Stephen Moore, and then an even bigger one for Rory McKean, who took the luckless Will Orton with him, and they were both out in the gravel with lots of damage. I'd be surprised if we see both of those cars out in the race later on. Then Josh Steed reeled in the race leader. He was 3.5 seconds behind Will Aspin at one stage, but he caught him with 5 minutes to go. There was a questionable moment as they went past the back marker, possibly in a yellow flag zone, but the battle would rage onto the flag. A big spin then for Brendan Hafner right in front of them, while Stephen Davis went off into the gravel as well. It was a dramatic race, but Josh Steed managed to take the victory, extending his championship margin, whilst John Bennett came through from 11th on the grid to finish second in what was a fantastic race.